doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Today we have our guest Andy Smith. How you doing, Andy?
Hello.
Thanks for coming
Doing
by.
good?
Oh,
Oh,
great.
you got it. No problem. Yeah, man. Doing good, hanging in there.
Wow. Yeah,
So,
I'm real excited. I was just talking before we started that I got my copy of Cord Durath. I got the A cover. I thought it had to do with my
yeah.
last name beginning with the B. I thought maybe you'll go down alphabetical order, but no, it's
Just
got a simple order to fulfill. I always get the
simple
A
water.
covers for everything. I'm just a simple person that way. And one thing I didn't realize this is I love this. You sent the map.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I don't know maps. I love like for Renee's a fiendish. I had to order the map, and Rob Geronimo's Blood Realm. I had to
Oh,
order
yeah.
the map. And this I love the character sheets. And I was like, oh, character sheets. I didn't even want to look at it till I read the story because I didn't want to know how powerful the characters were. So I got
Right.
a
Right.
blast with that. It was a lot of fun. So
That's cool.
I'm all geeking out. Let me calm down. So this is Andy Smith, the creator of Cord Durath, which is out now.
Yes, it is. Shipping now. Every day we're trying to get stuff out. Hopefully we're trying to wrap, by basically a week from today at this time. Hopefully everything will be out. So that's what we're shooting for.
Now, what is it? You everything got sent to your house, and you're just packing things and shipping things out
Yep.
on your own.
Yep. Got a ton of boxes in the garage.
How is that working out? What is?
It's Dennis comes over every day, and we just start. We got it down to a system now, and I got a spreadsheet that we use, and I just print out basically a batch of stuff because like I said, we started off shipping all the single covers first. So you got cover A, we did all those, then we did all the B, C, so on and so forth. And now we're into like the people that basically are mixing and matching different things because everything was pretty much an add-on as well. So if you just wanted to get cover A, but then when you checked out, you're like, oh, I like that cover and I want the artist edition and this, you could do it. So that's where the spreadsheet comes in handy. And, we're just working off of that. Today, we actually put together, because, now with people that are getting a bunch of stuff, we can't use a Gemini mailer. We have to use an actual box. So today we put together like 94, taped together 94 boxes.
Oh.
So they're just all stacked up in the garage so we can just put stuff in them, down the line and then label it and get it to the post office.
Load all 100 boxes so in your car, drive to the post office, and then that person behind the counter is
like, no. Luckily I live near a post office. So I live near a post office, but I also live near, I guess it's like a hub where, my mail carrier and the other ones in this area all get the mail from. So it's open to the public. If you, for instance, have it, it's
like a
say you got a piece of certified mail, but you weren't at the house and they leave you have to come pick it up. That's where you have to go pick it up. You can't buy stamps. You can't take something there to mail it unless the label's on it and you don't need a receipt. So we take everything there.
Okay.
And, they're just real accommodating. They open up the door and we just wheel it in. They take everything and I take the hand truck back to the car.
So this isn't your first campaign though. You did a few. So you're an expert on this by now, huh?
Yeah. I don't know if anybody becomes an expert in it. I mean, I'd like to think, but then there's new challenges and I guess hurdles with every one, because every campaign is just a little bit different with what you're offering and adding. Like this is the first campaign we had, t-shirts and a beanie to fulfill, and then mini prints and not the ones that you got, but we had we had the homage cover, which was cover E, made into a mini print that people could buy.
Yeah.
And, so we got those. We got the little trading card that, if you signed up, you get. But if you didn't sign up and you want to buy it, you could buy it. And
yeah, I'm looking over. I got trading cards too. I got a lot. It was fun. I got a lot of stuff. So
yeah.
I'm trying to. I'm preaching to the choir here, but I'm talking to the guys at work about like what stretch goals are, and they're like, "Oh, so you pay more?" No, you pay the same price.
No,
bigger the campaign, you get more and more stuff. It's
right. That's the nice thing about it. The bigger the campaign, the more free stuff people get. So it really helps getting people to share it. Because I always say sharing is caring. But if you want to get more stuff for yourself, then pimp it out there, share it out, because the more people that back it, the more stretch goals people will add to their campaign.
In a way, I'm going to share this because I want to get more trading cards. I want to,
right.
But it's fun. I want everybody's campaign to succeed. I just think it's
well, and from the creator standpoint, we like hitting those goals because we want to make that stuff so we have it as well.
Yeah.
So
it'd be fun to see people wearing your t-shirt, wearing your beanies and playing your module. Yeah, you made a module for your campaign. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, role-playing games come with little pre-made stories, and they're called modules.
Yep. And Dennis wrote a module. It is actually it's a different story than the one in the actual graphic novel. So, you're basically getting, if you got the module, you're getting two stories. Even if you don't play it and just read through it, it's a totally different story. But, it's built on 5th edition, and, we designed the module to look like the original D&D modules, to where the cover is not stapled, but the guts are stapled. So you can set the cover up as like your shield if you're the DM, and then you put the story in front of you as you work people through it and stuff. So
that begs the question: how long you've been playing D&D?
Well, the sad part is I've really never played D&D. That's where Dennis and I. Well, that's where Dennis. I brought Dennis into this project when the second First Man was coming to a close, and I've known Dennis for a few years, and I know he's huge in the D&D, and not only D&D, but Pathfinder. You name the role-playing game, he's probably played it. I played the Marvel game back in the 80s. I did play that one. And, we were driving to a convention, and I was telling him I want to do something different for my next project, and something fantasy type based. And I just thought he would be a good collaborator on it because he is so into, D&D and just that type of stuff. I mean, I grew up reading the comics of like Tarzan and Conan, and awesome. And that was about it, but I never really played Dungeons and Dragons growing up because I was so focused on wanting to draw comics. That's all I did in my free time. So.
Okay. I was going to ask you a whole bunch of like addition questions and things.
Yeah. They would go right over my head. See, I should have had Dennis come on with me because he could answer all that stuff.
So is Kor'derath your character? Did you make up the character for and play him out and then make a story, or is it completely separate?
No. We made up. We created Kor'derath and Adriana and the cast of characters before. We weren't. When we first did it, we weren't even talking about a module. It was before the campaign started, and I just kind of threw it out to him and said, you've been doing this stuff, like I said, since version 1 of D&D. And I said, do you, and so he's been playing it since then, but he's also always usually been the dungeon master, and he always, him and his buddies, the stuff they would do would be stories that Dennis created. So I said, you've done all that. Do you think, you'd want to write a game module that we could sell along with the book? And he's like, yeah. So, I mean, that's how that came about. I mean, I had no real part of the game module aspect at all, except for drawing some of the, all the art inside the module is mine. And then there's a few new pieces I had to draw for the module specifically, for a few characters and stuff. But yeah, the module is basically, his his offspring, I guess. But he played it out, after it was written. He test played it with people that play, role playing games and stuff, just to make sure it made sense and flowed well and stuff. And he sent it to a couple other people that are pretty heavy into it to read through and look at as well before we finally went with it and stuff. So
Well, if you've been role playing for long enough, you're going to find somebody who's going to find a way to circumvent the story and cause chaos. My chair keeps falling. I got a bunch of those players that don't care what the story is. They're just going to, I go over here and cause an explosion. There's always going to be.
Yeah, honestly, if it was me playing it, that's probably the type I'd be. I'd be like, why do I have to do that? I want to do this.
Neutral, huh? There we go.
Right. That's probably what I would do. So
what do you play with your buddies? What kind of character do you like? Are you the wizard?
No, it'd have to be a warrior type.
You're a warrior.
Yeah, it would have to be. I mean, that was the whole thing with Kordrath and stuff. I mean, going into Kordrath, when we were doing it, I said, obviously the hero is going to be a barbarian S type character, but I want him to have, a female. Oh, thank you very much. I said I want him to have a female counterpart, or girlfriend, whatever. But I don't want her to be like a barbarian too, like Red Sonja is to Conan. I wanted her to be different, so that's how we came up with the whole sorceress idea for her.
Yeah, it's different. You get to showcase different things, and they don't step on each other's toes.
Right. They both have their weaknesses and strengths, so she could come in and do stuff to help out that he can't do, and vice versa. So
yeah, and I when I was reading it, I got a couple of pages in, and I'm just like, because I'm like, this reads like a role playing game, So I spoilers, people. The ending, I was like, oh
yeah, do not ruin that ending on the stream.
I don't want to spoil it. Yeah, I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah.
Okay, everything pulled together, and I just had a smile on my face. So I was like, oh
yeah, and because one of the things, and we're sending a thank you letter out with every book, and I need to remember to do this because I didn't print out all 1,500 or however many it is thank you letters. I print them out in batches.
Right. Yeah.
And on the next batch, I want to write a little PS that says, do not flip to the end of this book before you read it. Just read it. Because, look, when I pick up a comic at the shop, because I still buy stuff, I'll flip through it usually. When I get a crowdfund book in the mail, though, that I backed, I generally won't flip through it because I don't want to ruin the ending in any way. If it's if I'm getting just shit, I can't even think of a mainstream book I really get anymore. But back when I was getting like Green Lantern monthly about a decade ago or 8 years ago, whenever it was, I didn't care if I flipped through it because even if I went to the very end and just glimpsed at it, it wouldn't really connect,
without getting a context.
Right. But with crowdfund stuff, you could very well spoil it if you just flip to the end. So we try to tell everybody when we do a stream, and like I said, I want to add it to the letter we're sending out. Do not flip to the end of the book. Yeah. You'll just ruin the ending for yourself, and you'll kick yourself.
Yeah, the ending tied it together really well. I had, like I said, I had a big smile on my face because I wake up early for work, so I was reading it, and I put a bookmark. I said I'll come back and finish it tomorrow after work. So I was thinking about it all day. How's it going to end? Whenever I read something, if I enjoy it, I try to play beat the writer. Where is he going to go with this? Where's this going?
Oh yeah.
can I come up with a better story? And I get annoyed if I can come up with a better story. I'm like, who the hell am I? And then, you know, so so the second day I sat down to finish it, and you know, it beat me. It didn't end the way I thought it was going to end. You know, I got a kick out of it. You know.
Yeah, that's
So
what we've heard from a few people, and we like that. Can't wait to see the RPG game played live on the stream. Yeah, we're gonna have to do that.
oh
Uh,
really?
so yeah, I mean, we just have
Oh
to. We have to figure out. I mean, obviously with StreamYard like this, we just have to we just have to figure out, I guess, how to do that. I mean, if we just got people in town, fine. We could have
oh, you
everybody
guys don't live
over.
together? Like, not live together, but live near each other.
Yeah, Dennis is like 20 minutes away. You know, if we got people in town to play it, sure, we could set up a table in my office. I could set the camera up and just do a wide view and do it that way. But if we want to play it with people that actually got it or something, we just have to figure out how to do that, you
Yeah.
know. Because I mean, we can get 10 people on a stream, and I don't even know if we need that many for it, but it's just coordinating the gameplay and stuff.
Yeah,
I'll have to ask Dennis about it.
getting adults
So.
together to play role playing games is a chore. I I still play. I play role playing games maybe every other week,
Sure.
and then I moved, and then I had to find a new group because people in New York City don't buy cars and they don't drive out anywhere out of the 5 boroughs. So I had to get a whole new group of people. And now I finally found a group of friends out here. But geez, you know, they got kids and they
Sure.
you know, they got jobs and, you know, all those things that just ruin life, if you ask me. And we
Yeah.
can't get to play. But we did. If I could promote myself for a second, every Thursday
course.
for the next couple of maybe next 3 months, I'm putting half-hour segments of our role-playing sessions from character
Oh, that's
creation
cool.
to experience points at the end of the story. So I think, and that's the Villains Vigilante system with a superhero role-playing games. So I call there's 4 players, so I call them the Fumbling Four. You know, that's the name of the team that I goof on. So there you go. If you want to see that, it's called the Villains Vigilante sessions on my channel. But you know,
That's cool.
and I would love to see you and your friends playing a D&D. That would be great.
Yeah.
Would you be Cord Durath? I guess you have to be, right?
Well, I mean, if we play the Cordrath RPG game, I would definitely say, no, that's me. Because
Yeah.
Dennis would be the DM of it or whatever. We'll just go with GM, Game Master. And if I remember right, if he's in that role, he's not a character because he's the guy leading the game.
Right.
So yeah, if I'm doing it, I'm Cordrath, hands down. I mean, there's just
Yeah, I guess that's fair, right?
yeah. I mean,
Can you imagine playing a role playing game with Robert E. Howard? You know, I'm Conan.
oh yeah,
All right, yeah.
yeah. No, man, I'm Conan. I don't care if you created it. I'm Conan. So yeah, I think it'll be fun. There's actually a store like 10 minutes from where I live, up the road that is it's just a store for like, you know, that sells role playing stuff. And then once a week, or maybe it's a couple times a week at night, he has gaming night. So it's funny because, you know, you walk into the store and the big open area in the front of the store has like 6 or 7 of, you know, the 8-foot tables with chairs set up. And, you know, during the day they're empty, but like I said, a couple times a week, I think is when he does the gaming night and stuff. So it's a pretty cool store. So
Yeah.
John Malin is low enough. Sure, why not?
There's a store right by me. It's like when we moved here, you know, we bought the house, we started fixing it up, and I was just like, you know, all we need now is like a game store and a comic book store. My 2 obsessions. So my wife, being a sweetheart that she looks up on the phone. She goes, "There's a comic book store that we could walk to, and there's a game store. Maybe we'll drive." You know, it's like within 5 minutes we're at both of them. And again, Brothers Grimm.
Oh, that's cool.
Store. They have the big tables. I don't know where they got them, but they got like mind flayers, like the mannequins, like hanging up on the wall, and like orcs with battle axes, life size. You know, it's the perfect place to play. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I keep telling the guys I want to come here and like on Sundays and manage a game, but I'm a little nervous to do it with strangers, you know.
Right. Right.
Have you ever run the game? Have you ever been the DM?
No.
No.
I can imagine what it's like though. I've seen it and stuff, you know. I would assume it's definitely easier just doing it, you know, running a game like that with people you know,
Right. Right.
compared to just a bunch of strangers where you don't know their personalities and stuff. You're just like, oh boy,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And I always feel like it's my responsibility to keep everybody entertained. So even when it's my friends, I get
Yeah.
nervous. You know, we used to do it on Friday nights, and at 7 o'clock, and at 6 o'clock, I'd be like, my wife's like, you could do, like, I'd get stage fright, even though we've been playing with this group for like 7 or 8 years every Friday. But now, you know, so it
Yeah,
is
I
rough.
don't know. That's weird. When I did years ago, like oh shit, 12, 13 years ago or so, I dabbled with doing some stand-up comedy
Oh,
and stuff. And then I went from
that's
that
rough.
and did it is. And I went from that and I joined an improv group in Charlotte where I live and did that, you know, every weekend for 5 or 6 years straight. And improv, I never really got nervous because you're on stage with a scene partner, and yeah, you're making stuff up on the fly. You know, if your scene partner's really good, you know, there's a nice give and take, and it's fine. Stand up, however, the funny thing with that is I would be more nervous when I knew people in the audience, and I'd be less nervous if it was just a bunch of strangers.
Yeah, because your
Because
friends
with
are
a
gonna
bunch of
make fun of you.
strangers,
That's
well, with a bunch of strangers, I'm like, it doesn't really matter because they don't know me,
right.
you know? So, because I did, you know, a lot of the stand-up stuff was, a lot of the stand-up stuff was, uh, open mic nights and stuff like that. So those are rough because, you know, you might have 20 people in the audience, but 15 of them are doing the open mic. So you're performing for people that are trying to be comedians as well. I did open for a couple comedians that I was friends with. So that was good because, you know, you'd have 100, people and I did 5 to 7 minutes and, um, you know, it was a good setting because it is different because the people coming out to that are coming out because they want to laugh
Right. Yeah.
and they're not, you know, that's what they're there for. So
They'll
it's
meet you
almost
halfway.
easier. Yeah. But
Now, did you do superhero stuff like comic book stuff? Like, what's with the color yellow? Why? You just
uh
by peeing on them.
I did I did for one play, yeah, because I went to uh there you go. I went to one place with 3 or 4 of my friends to do like uh a small gig with like 20, 25 people. And the beginning of it was some comic book stuff, but it was more about um saying, you know, basically, you know, you want to tell the truth is, you know, the best comedy has truth in it. So it
Right.
was talking about, you know, drawing comic books for a living. And, you know, for instance, I would say something like, and none of this is verbatim because, you know, the other reason, real quick, I switched from stand up to improv is stand up, there's homework because you have to memorize your set, you know. Now, you know, inevitably, you always, when you're on stage, will change things a little bit, but for the most part, you know, it's memorized. Whereas improv, you don't have to memorize the damn things. It's different every time.
Right.
So that's one reason I like doing improv more. But back to the stand-up thing, you know, I'd say something like, you know, my real job is I'm a cartoonist. And so, you know, I draw for a living and, you know, I tell people that and they're always like, oh man, I can't even draw a stick figure. And, you know, I'd say something, you know, in the set like, really? You can't draw a stick figure? That's just fucking pathetic. Everybody can draw a stick figure. My 2-year-old knows how to draw a stick figure, you know, and at that time I had a 2-year-old. And you know, it's all in obviously the delivery and stuff, but with the delivery, that would, well, I mean, you laugh, but that would get a good laugh
Right. Yeah.
because it's true. People would come up when they hear what I do, and it's basically one of two things. I can't draw a stick figure. I can't even draw a straight line,
Right.
you know.
Yes, you can.
And you know, the other thing in the set, I would say that I'd go, and then the other thing people always say is, well, I can't even draw a straight line. And I would just look at him and go, neither can I. That's why they make rulers, you know. And
Or you just say, well, oh, really? What are you, Michael J. Fox?
yeah, but you know,
Yeah,
and then you know, I would take it to another level where I would go, I mean, can you imagine if I went up to somebody and was like, oh, what do you do for a living? Well, I'm an accountant. And I just fawned all over him. I was like, oh my God, you're an accountant? You work with numbers?
I can't even add 2
Can
plus
you
2.
can you add 2 plus 2 for me? I can't even do that, you know. And I ran down a couple different professions. Oh, I did, you know, another one, and this is in like a 5-minute set. I was like, well, what if you went up to somebody and it's like, well, what do you do for a living? I'm a firefighter. You put out fires? And I light a match and throw it and go, can you put that out? You know, it's just like,
Yeah.
so it was fun. You know, every now and then I have ideas for jokes and stuff. And I always say, I should write that down. And I never do.
Do you have like an acting bug? Would you want to be in a movie or a film or?
Well, I've done some, you know, some acting in regards to, like, in the late 90s, I was living in Florida. My wife and I were in, you know, Orlando, and I wanted to do acting. So we lived near a school called Full Sail, which is known for, it's basically an entertainment school for directing, videography, animation, game design, stuff like that. And in the film part of the school, they would have to do short films, and they would hold auditions, and, you know, local actors would come and audition, and it didn't pay, but it was all for the experience, and you'd get a copy of the film. So I did 4 or 5 of those. When we moved up here, I did a couple commercials for a couple places in town. I shot a sitcom. You know, there was a production company in town. This is like a decade ago. And the guy was shooting a pilot for a sitcom he wrote, the guy that owned the production company. So, you know, I had an agent, and he put out, you know, the casting call, and I got a part in the sitcom. So we shot the pilot over the course of like a week. And so I've done some acting. I enjoy doing that as well. I mean, I enjoy doing all that stuff. So it's different. It's fun. I just like entertaining. I think that's one reason I like drawing comics, is because somebody's going to get it. And even though I'm not obviously going to be there when they buy it, and I'm talking back when I first got into the business, you know, in 1991, I'm not going to be there. I'm not going to see their reaction when they read it. But, you know, I'd like to think that somebody, you know, if they buy a comic that I drew, at the end of the day, whether it was a crappy day or whatever, it puts a smile on their face, you know. And it doesn't matter what, like I said, I'm talking, you know, when I was working for Marvel and DC, you know, doing that stuff, and now obviously doing my own thing. I just, if it can just take somebody out of their day for a little bit, and like I said, put a smile on their face, that's awesome.
So everybody watch this. Film yourself, put your camera on reading Cord Dureth, and then when you smile and give Andy a thumbs up and email.
That's right. At the end of it, go, wow. So, but yeah, I mean, I like performing. It's fun. Yeah. So
there you go.
It's
Andy's
caught
peeping on people reading. Yeah, he could see you through your cell phones.
If you go to my YouTube channel, and I don't even know how many videos are on there now, but if you go to my YouTube channel and just scroll all the way back there, because I also did sketch comedy as well.
Oh wow.
And sketch comedy is obviously harder because you have to memorize lines and stuff. There's a sketch comedy troupe. Yeah. So there's a few, and the video quality is not that great, but I didn't shoot the video. Somebody else did. But there's a few of the sketches that I did on my YouTube channel. But I mean, you got to scroll back because this goes back like 10 years.
Wow.
But one of them I wrote, which it probably wouldn't fly today, but 10, 11 years ago when I did it.
Oh, yeah, well, most
But
comedy doesn't fly today. That's why comedy sucks today.
Well, the title of it, I'll tell you, the title of it was "I Want to Be Black."
Oh God, you just got my
So,
channel canceled. Thanks a lot, Andy.
so you
Nice
know, if
knowing
you want to
everybody.
watch it,
Goodbye.
if you want to watch it, just go to my YouTube channel and just scroll down, and you'll see it. I'm in it, and then there's this my scene partner or the other actor in it is this black girl that was in the cast. And obviously I wrote it and we all read it because when we did the sketch comedy, when I was part of that group, we would all write stuff. And then, we would get together a few times a week. And one of the weeks we'd get together, everybody would bring a sketch that they wrote. And then we'd all read them and decide on which ones we want to use for the show.
Okay.
So everybody read it and everybody liked it, so we did it for the show. And she was totally game and stuff. So
I have a buddy who teaches at Five Towns College. He teaches film, and they would make short films as part of the project. And he always calls me up. I always play the mafia guy, the bad guy, the union worker or whatever. The guy like sitting down eating a sandwich while something's got to get. I'm typecast as that guy. And if somewhere on the internet there's a Black Panther fan film, you could see me being the cowardly mafia boss. Go get him, That's
funny.
And then two of his students made a like they were making a full-fledged movie called Nothing Personal, and I was the mafia boss. And we had to drive down a Brooklyn street, and I'm firing a prop gun, and we got stopped by, because this is after 9/11. We got stopped going through the Midtown.
Oh yeah.
With freaking prop guns and everything on our car. And I'm like, you guys don't have permits? I'm not going to jail because, they finally let us go. But geez, they wouldn't let us film in Manhattan. We had to turn around and film.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. I had to pull a guy out of a trunk. So I'm driving with a guy in my trunk, open the hood, pull him out. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, that's cool.
And I tried improv. I tried stand-up comedy. And I tried sketch comedy, but nobody liked my sketches. I think they were a little too out there for everybody.
Yeah, it really is. It is fun. I mean, like I said, I think improv's probably my favorite just because, you get a suggestion from the audience because it's like, whose line is it anyway? That's the stuff.
Yeah, I love that show. Yeah.
And so we get a suggestion from the audience. We tell the audience this is the game we're playing. And then, we'd get a suggestion because it's usually 2 people on stage, sometimes 3. And we just get a suggestion of the relationship between the 2 people and then the location, where's the scene taking place? And then we just go. So that's probably my favorite, doing that stuff.
So you'd be a good dungeon master or game master, whatever they call it these days, because a lot of it is improv. You got to react to, I didn't think you were going to run off and stab the Duke. He didn't even give you the quest yet. Now what am I going to do for an hour and a half?
Right. Right. Yeah. It would be. But
do you get into role playing? Like, do you play your character, or is it just hack and slash? It's just a bunch of numbers, and how do I get the most treasure?
It'd probably be hack and slash. I mean, with Choreodrath, I'd probably get into that because I know him so well. What's it? Andy does improv work on the internet live streams with the lag. Yeah, I mean, I think it would because there is a lag. I think I don't know. I think it might be 7 to 10 second lag. But I think it would work because you could get a suggestion, so if we were doing improv, we'd get a suggestion in the chat and then we would just do it. The problem is, and it would be the same as like trying to do stand-up this way, which, Norm Macdonald, before he passed away, his last, and it was on Netflix, his
Right.
last performance was in front of a webcam just like this.
Yeah, I watched that. Yeah.
So, yeah, and I thought it was great, but it was still kind of weird because there was no laughter to go
There
to
was
it,
a bit
you
of
know?
sadness in it. Like I watched because obviously
Oh,
it was
yeah.
died. So I'm like, I gotta watch this. I love Noah McDonald. He's one of my favorite
Yeah.
stand-up. Just that dry, not no nonsense. Like you said, tell a little bit of the truth. Geez, that guy told the
Yeah.
truth like brutally, but he did it in a funny way. And then I was watching it
Yeah.
and I had to stop it because I could only take it like 15-minute bursts. It like made me feel like too emotional. I'm like, this guy died.
Mhm.
And then he would stop and wait for the joke. Yeah, I mean,
Right, he did. He had
yeah.
he knew when to pause and stuff, but it's just tough. But I think he is the GOAT. I think it would work. You're just not getting the feedback from the audience, but
Right.
you know, I think you could probably make it work. I don't know. Um,
I've been
yeah,
toying because a couple of people, because again, everybody, people who watch my channel, they know that my comic book was inspired by a role playing game, and I reached out to the people that make the game, and I'm trying to see if they want to do some cross promotion. So people like, how about for a stretch goal, you have like a role playing session? And I'm like, again, I'm thinking the same thing. How would that work? Like fly everybody out to my house, because ideally sitting
well,
around
the
table.
problem with that is a stretch goal everybody gets, so you can't.
Right.
I don't think you can really do that because you're looking at even on the. Let's just say it's 100 people that back it,
Right.
right?
How do you do that?
How do you do that? So I don't. Yeah, I don't know if that would work.
Yeah, like a stretch goal, like maybe just record you and your buddies playing, and again, how does it
Yeah,
work?
and you could send that,
How do you do it
but
democratically? You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
yeah,
I'll be doing for the next 10 years playing Dungeons and Dragons with everybody, which I would love to do.
exactly.
Don't get me wrong, but I got bills to pay.
No, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, that'd be tough. But yeah, and when are you launching that? Because I think you posted a page from it and I saw it and I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. So then I went to your profile thinking there'd be a link to go check it out. And
Not
I'm like,
not
oh, it's not around. It's not live or anything yet.
we got about 10 pages drawn and colored. I got a letter awaiting, and I got I'm waiting on logos so I can put up and dress up the cover, and then I'm going to
Yep.
put it on Fund My Comic, and then
Oh, cool.
I think I want to wait till I'm about 50% done with the comic.
Sure.
Otherwise, I feel like I'm lying about dates. You know what I mean? I like you said, the truth. I want to be as honest. I never did it before, so I'm quite nervous, as you could probably understand.
Sure.
I want to have at least 50% completely done. I got like a pre-press guy waiting. I talked to everybody, and that's why I was asking you, are you mailing it all yourself? I want to know what I'm in for, and I think I'm at the point where I'm just peeping over and learning about all the stuff that I don't know yet. Like, I didn't, like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I didn't know I needed a pre-press guy. You know what I mean? So, that's
I mean, it just depends on it depends on how much you know. That's a good stretch goal.
Yes, Marcus.
It depends on how much you know about putting a book together. If you need a pre-press guy, like I use one, and it's something I could probably learn to do, but my time is just better spent doing something. Right. The time it would take me to do that, I can do something else that's more productive.
Yeah, I have a construction job, and I come home, and the last thing I want to, you know what I mean? Like, I would rather pay the guy. Like, the guy's got a reasonable rate. To me, that's fine.
Well, it's like lettering.
Maybe I could learn by my third campaign, but let's let the pros do it. You know what I mean? I got a great artist.
That's how I look at it.
I think I could write. I think I'm pretty good. I got an editor checking my spelling and everything, and I hired a professional pre-press guy. And Marcus,
it's good.
If I hit a stretch goal, he's going to do an 8-page story about the origin of one of the bad guys.
Oh, there you go.
Agent Zero says do about 90%. You see, that's that, because I don't want to say we're going to launch it, or start sending it out in 3 months, and then something happens, or God forbid I need to change something. So I don't know. I like to say probably launch beginning of February. I think is realistic to say. Yeah, and like when you're talking about swag and stuff like that, like I want to make coins. Like, I don't know if you could see this coin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this coin says John Con, like on my shirt, because I used to run board game conventions. So I got a great place to get coins. These are like $1 each,
Yeah.
I made up pint glasses. I want to put my superhero symbols on it, on the pint glass. Pint glasses you'd have to pay extra because I don't think I could ship that to everybody. That would be an add-on.
Sure.
Because that would shatter and then everybody would want new ones or whatever. But it's fun. T-shirts. I want to do all that fun stuff. Maybe the second issue, a map of the city. That would be fun.
Right.
Because the city itself was going to be a character, I hope. But this is your hour. I feel bad talking about my stuff while you're here.
Okay. I asked.
Yeah, you did ask. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Nah,
wow.
Anytime.
So I wanted to talk to you about like editions of D&D and stuff. I mentioned Villains and Vigilantes. You said you were familiar with, but you never played it.
I've never played that one. I'm also familiar with Mutants and Masterminds. You know that one?
That was a good one. Yes.
Well, the reason I'm familiar with it because I'm trying to think how long ago this was. This has got to be 15 years ago. 15 years ago is 2008, so it might be almost 20 now. But I did some artwork.
It's probably farther back than you think, right?
Yeah, I did some artwork for Mutants and Masterminds that they put in one of the annuals, and I had to design a couple characters and stuff. And it's all superhero stuff. It was just so fun to do. I had a friend of mine color the stuff. They had me draw a fake comic book cover, and it was based on the Neil Adams Green Lantern Green Arrow cover where Speedy's in the foreground shooting up.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So yeah, it was fun. They sent me a couple of the soft cover, books that they were printed in. I did some art that was in Dungeon Magazine around the same time. I can't remember what the name. It was kind of a G.I. Joe type thing, except it was called Fear, and FEAR. Each letter stood for something. I don't remember what now, but yeah, and then back, like I said, when I was a kid, I did the Marvel game, and I still have it, and I've got in the box some of the characters I drew and whatnot for it. So it was fun.
Yeah. There was a bunch of superhero games, like you said, Mutants and Masterminds. I remember that. With my friends, we all got okay, you're the Dungeons Dragons guy, you're the Villains Vigilantes guy, you played Mutants and and so we each learned one system, to the point, my friends, we play fantasy games. We have a dungeon, but I use my Villains and Vigilantes rules. I'm not learning another system, so we just import it. Champions, yeah. Somebody just brought up Champions.
I remember Champions, and then City of Heroes. I never played, but I actually had some of the comics, and thought they were pretty cool.
City of Heroes was like playing a Jack Kirby comic on your computer. It was fun. It was like a 4-color superhero game. Then there was another superhero game called Aberrant, which was made by the same people who did Vampire. It wasn't that popular, but if you ever remember that Vampire, the Masquerade role-playing games, those games, they were fun, but geez, you read the whole book and then you're like, okay, so how do I play? I just read everything and I still don't know how to play. Now just imagine that like a superhero game. It's more for people who want to role play, and it's less gaming than role playing. And I was like, so I stuck with Village. It's math, enough math so that the numbers mean something. Like Vampire, you can have different stats, but they didn't really mean anything because it was all about role playing, which you need both for a good game. And as I digress. Marvel Saga rules with the cards, yes, yeah. Did you ever play any of the the Marvel board games or card games or any superhero games like that?
No, I don't think. No, I didn't. No, I didn't really play any of that stuff. I never really. I remember Overpower.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of them because I would look at them honestly because of the artwork and stuff. Yeah. I've got, what's that book I have? I've got a couple art books based on games just because the art is just so freaking cool. Now, I mean, this isn't a role-playing game, but God of War, I bought that first art book because the designs and stuff in it are just awesome. And then same with Damn it, what's it? Oh, Dark, isn't it? It's yep, Darksiders, the game that Joe Madureira created and stuff. I got that art book because it's just filled with a bunch of Joe Mad artwork.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just, I love seeing the concept art and designs and stuff. So
before you said that, what comics do I get? Geez, I don't get any new comics in a while. Did you just make a conscious decision? I'm done with new comics.
No, I go to the shop. No, I go to the comic shop every Wednesday, and my daughter actually goes with me, and I want to buy new stuff because I just love comics. But
right. May I ask
last
how old
week,
your daughter is?
She's 20.
She's 20 and she's into comics. That's great because young kids are into comics. So good for you.
No, she's into it. And I go this past Wednesday, and the only book I bought was the Batman Facsimile edition they put out of the version of What If Robin Lived from Death in the Family. That's the only thing I bought. And I bought it because I've got the trade paperback of, the original story where he dies. I'm like, hell yeah, I want to see Jim Aparo artwork, Jim Starlin story, Mike DiCarlo inking it. I'm like, yeah, I want this. And that was the only thing I bought. There's really nothing from Marvel and DC that I get. I get Justice League Godzilla because it's actually pretty cool. So I'm getting that. I get, there's a book called, Hunger and the Dusk that is it IDW? I think it's IDW that puts it out. It's kind of fantasy based, and the artwork is just what I flip through it. I'm like, this art is awesome. So, issue 4 is out. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I go every Wednesday, and there are weeks like the week before this one where that Batman, my daughter and I went, and I think I walked out with nothing. We got in the car and I'm like, well, I'm glad you got something.
Yeah.
So I'll just get back issues and stuff.
Didn't Dan DiDio complain? He was like, yeah, the facsimile editions are selling more than the new comics, which should have been like, bing,
a light bulb should go. I mean, honestly,
in a normal business. Yeah. Our hamburgers are selling more than the hot dogs. Well, let's push the hot dogs harder then. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I wouldn't be, if I was running one of those companies as a test, and I would do it as a test just to see what happens, I would take the Avengers or maybe the X-Men, and I might not start from number 1. It really depends, because I will say, if you start with Avengers number 1, right, and do facsimiles of them, and every month you're just putting it out, kind of like Robert Kirkman's doing with The Walking Dead now, where they're all coming out in color, right?
Right.
And I would just print them the way they looked back then. I wouldn't have them recolored or anything.
Yeah.
And every month I'd start Avengers number 1, and then the next month number 2, and I would just do it for like a year just to see how they sell.
Well, remember, Marvel used to do that. World's Greatest Comics reprinted the Fantastic Four, and Marvel Super Action reprinted those old Tales to Astonish.
Right? They did, but still, I mean, they used to do it, but still, that goes back into the 70s.
Right?
I don't think they were doing. Well, thank you. I don't think they were doing that in the 80s.
No,
and but I wouldn't even call them that. I would just do. I'd call it. I would probably call the line itself the Silver Age, right? So I'd come up with a nice little icon at the top. Yeah, it would be Marvel Comics, and then there'd be another small icon that called it the Silver Age.
Yeah, it's just write Silver Age in silver letters. Oh man.
Yeah. And then I would just start putting out that stuff just to see how it sells. Oh. And I mean, the sad part is, if it really does sell better than other stuff, the bad part is it could put people out of work, because they could be like, shit, why are we even putting this amount of new stuff out? Not saying don't put anything new out, but they could then think, holy crap, this stuff is selling and it's already here, and we just basically pay royalties to people. So let's just take our key characters like Spider-Man, Captain America, Fantastic Four, whatever, and just put out like maybe 5 new books a month, and that's it.
Yeah. Now, you're doing your own stuff right now, and let's just say that the phone rings tomorrow and it's Marvel and DC. Hey, you want to come work for us? Would you do it? Would you go back?
Well, I don't really have any interest in drawing the iterations of the characters now. That's the thing. That's why I really consider myself lucky, because I got to draw a lot of the
Got to draw some
I got to
classic.
draw a lot of characters at the time period that I really enjoyed them still.
They were on top of their game at that. Yeah.
In the 90s and early 2000s. And I don't know. I mean, if it's the iterations they are now, it really would just depend on what the story is, and obviously the rate and stuff too, because I'm not going to go back.
Let's pretend they give you everything you want, because some people,
I don't know,
going back no matter what.
It might be fun doing a one shot or something, but not monthly. No,
I wonder if
I don't think I could do a monthly book again.
Yeah, I imagine
it's a lot of work. I mean, what I'm doing now is a lot of work, but it's it's kind of like I'm putting it on myself, so it's different. When you put it on yourself,
it's your own creation, and you know what
right?
I mean.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's your own thing, so you don't really feel it. Yeah.
That's got to feel cool. I can't wait till somebody says to me, "I read your comic and I liked it." You know what I mean? Oh my god,
yeah,
that's got to feel cool. But I think I wonder if Marvel more than DC is starting to course correct, because I had a DG Chichester on a couple of weeks ago, and I had Dave Mateus on my channel, and they're all writing for Marvel again. So I wonder, did we turn a corner? Because it's no secret. I talked about this 2015 cold turkey. I was done with Marvel in DC, and that was before the woke era. I just didn't like, because it just seemed like there was no continuity. They were just being disrespectful to
well, I'm telling you, I think I said this when they did it, when Marvel basically just rebooted.
Sorry, Zarkon made me laugh. You wrote a comic? Wow, I can't even read.
When Marvel basically rebooted everything and got rid of all that high numbering, I was talking to retailers, and retailers were like, we lost people, because they're like,
they lost me.
Why would I start with a number one? I don't care. You just effed up my whole. I had every issue of blah, 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 and you screwed it up. So then what does Marvel do? Oh, look, now there's two numbers on the book, the number and the legendary number, or whatever they call it. And it's like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And the thing that kills me too is they're doing anniversary, or I think they did, where it's like they're putting out a list going, there's been 70, and I'm making the number up. There's been 75 Venom comics. It's like, yeah, but it's not 1 through 75.
I know.
It's just you're adding up all the mini series, and then it's like, oh, we did a Venom book for 2 years, so we can add that 24 to it, and that doesn't count. It doesn't count when you restart. I'm sorry, it does not count in my book.
Right. If you're gonna restart, you restart. In for a penny, in for a pound. You're restarting is restart. That's why the Crisis on Infinite Earths kind of bothered me, because I always thought they did a half-assed job. As much as I love the Crisis Infinite Earths, before Crisis Infinite Earths, I wasn't really a DC guy except for a few titles. After Crisis Infinite Earths, I was a full-on DC guy. So it worked in that it drew me in. But they should have canceled every comic, started everything with one, and then don't tell the Great Darkness tale again. You already told that in the old world. Tell new stories going on. Not, you know what I mean?
Right.
They kind of half-ass it. And I also feel the need to apologize to all the old timers that were like, I'm done with DC when they redid the Christ, because now I feel the same way. They did that to my Marvel now, and I'm done with Marvel now that I'm the great guy, gray beard, Yeah. Don't Marvel and DC. Don't they understand that comic book collectors are compulsive, obsessive people? I want a full run. Like you said, I want 1 to 400 and whatever. I don't want 1 to 400 and then 1 to 26 and then goes back to 402.
Right.
That drives me nuts.
You just lose people. I think they really shot themselves in the foot when they did that crap.
Yeah. Brew the Wanderers always making jokes. Every issue is issue number 1.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a great question. Brian Sudley Old. First off, thank you for watching, Brian. I love to see new names. Thank you for checking out. And Zarkan too. Thank you. Andy, do you have any all ages, aka kids comics in the works?
Not
Photograph
right.
was a little bit not for kids.
No, it's not. Not Cordrath, I like to say, is for, I don't know, 15 and up, maybe 16 and up. Even though I know what 13-year-olds see and stuff, but
13-year-old.
no, not right now. I mean, First Man was pretty good for all ages, I think.
Yes, I think that was all ages.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't anything sexual on any of the First Man stuff. There weren't any bad words either that I can think of.
You could have put a Comics Code Authority sticker on that, and I don't think anything would have changed except for like.
Oh no, nothing would have changed on that. No.
Yeah, so
First Man was pretty good because First Man, I just wanted to do a nice superhero book that pretty much anybody could read. I would love to do. So also about 10 years ago, or maybe 12, 13 now, I did 7 or 8 kids books, early reader books, using DC characters for HarperCollins, because I guess they had the license and stuff. And it was the ones that on the cover it would say, early reader, and it was for little kids, for either parents to read to them or whatnot. And I drew in a simpler style because when I was doing those, they wanted the art to be a lot simpler because it was supposed to be for younger readers and stuff. And I did 7 or 8 of those, and those were just awesome because it wasn't panel.
You say you hated it, but they were awesome.
No, oh my God, I loved it so much because it wasn't panel to panel like a comic book. It was basically a drawing on the page and then a little paragraph below it, description, because it was for a kid, a young kid. And what I loved was because you were only drawing like one drawing per page, you only drew the very cool stuff. So in other words, if the example I would tell people is if somebody was answering a phone, that was in the text below.
Right.
Because you only had a limited amount of drawing to do, so it had to be the cool stuff.
Right.
Whereas in a comic book, you might have a panel of somebody answering a phone, which is fine. I mean, yeah, which is totally fine because in comic books, that's part of storytelling. You're supposed to show those little scenes and nuances and stuff. But in a book where it's just maybe 20 drawings in the whole book, and the rest is text, every drawing should be cool and impactful. And I love doing those kids books. I'd love to do another early reader type one like that, except with my own stuff. The hard part about it is, they're generally about 24 pages, and I think they sold for like $4, and drawing something like that, because I thought about it, and I thought about obviously doing it like a crowdfund. But there's no way I could there's no way I can make it work for myself at $4 to $5 per book.
Yeah.
It would have to be more than that.
It has to be.
But at the same time, it's only like 20 to 24 pages. So I could probably do 10 to 15 for it because it isn't mass market like most crowdfund stuff isn't. So, and then once again, you do stretch goals and stuff, but it would be, all ages, kid friendly and whatever. So I don't know. It's something that I'd like to do again.
Because my comic, I want it's an homage to like Bronze Age Marvel. So like
sure,
you could put it. I'm hoping like you could put a Comics Code Authority stamp on it. It's not going to have anything, and like because I'm a big fan of all ages literature, all ages comics. Sure. I still think some of the best comics ever came out. And they were all ages. Like I always say, like the Hellfire Saga, the Great Darkness Saga.
Oh yeah,
the John Byrne fantastic.
Now, I will tell you, even if on your book that you're doing, just to give it that throwback vibe, you want to put that Comics Code thing on it, you have to change the wording because if you use it the exact way it is, they can come after you.
Yeah, so. I won't do it, but I'm saying like I could, I want to.
Well, no, we put it. I have it on the. So I did. I did for Cordrath, I did cover E, which is the homage cover that homages Conan #1, and I have it on there, but the wording's different.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, yeah,
if you
man.
just look at it, you'd think it was it, but if you read it, the wording is a little different. So
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, they own it. It's a copyright, right? You have to pay for that to
yeah,
get that on you.
yeah,
Yeah,
they own it.
you can't just
So
swipe somebody else's work. I understand that. So,
yeah,
but one of the things I was wondering, I think the whole crowdfunding model, as cool as it is, because it allows guys like me to make a comic, but I don't think you would know better than me. I don't think it would work for children's books, right? Because kids aren't going to be going onto a computer, going to Indiegogo and looking for children. Like, it would have to be parents
no,
who
but
fans of comics to look for their
no, it
kids.
wouldn't. I'm not. I don't know if it wouldn't work. I think it could because the children don't buy the children's books anyhow. The parents do.
That's a good point.
I mean, every kid book we bought for my daughter when she was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, hell, up until she was a teenager, we paid for. So
That's a good point.
if I found a good children's book and it was being crowdfunded and my daughter was 5 or 6 or whatever, I'd buy it if it was good.
I know EVS was talking about making a full on children's book with Cyberfrog. He was making he actually hired an artist that made it look like Days of Frog and Toad, if you remember those books.
Yeah.
I wonder whatever happened with that. I thought that was a great idea. I'd like to.
No, and I mean that's that's not a bad idea. What Brian's saying either. So
yeah, a kids collaborate. Yeah, that would be great. A Comicsgate kids books. That would be awesome. There you go.
Yeah,
that's already been brought up before. Yeah, drunks.
I don't know if it has, but I know like some of the ones that I did for DC, they collected into, and not everyone I did because there were a bunch of artists doing them, but they would take some of them and put them in a thick hardcover and call it like 5-minute stories or something. So each chapter, each section was one of the 20-page books.
Oh, cool.
So I mean, if we could corral all of us, because that's the hard part, is corralling all of us to do something like that.
Yeah,
to do a 10 to 15 page children's style story and then crowdfund it into if there's say 7 of us, or just I'll throw a big number out just because it's easier math. If there's 10 of us and we each did a 10-page story in a children's book style, that's a 100-page book. So you could crowdfund that for $40 or so, $50, whatever, and possibly get that out there. So that, I mean, it's not a bad idea, that's for sure. So
I'm again talking about my book again. If it's successful down the road, I have this idea. I don't know if you saw that book, Lady Alchemy by Martina Markota. She had a book. I liked it, and I keep bugging her. I'm like, since you just had a baby, let's make a children's book called Baby Alchemy. 26 pages, one for each letter. A is for alchemy. And so I said it as a joke, but that seems to be like where my ideas come from. I say something as a joke, and I'm like, I really like that idea. So I've been pestering her, like, I'll write it. We'll collaborate. And I'll go and I'll get 26 different artists in one page with little text. Andy Smith, B is for a beaker that alchemists use, and get some sort of historical reference. I think that would be a wonderful, children's book, whatever. Again, I'm a big fan of all ages literature. I think.
I mean, I tell you, this was probably it's probably a decade old now, but the comic artist Bob McLeod, who created New Mutants and had a long career, worked on so many great projects.
Legend.
He did a book probably it's probably 15 years ago now, and I have it. He did a book called ABC Superheroes ABCs. I can't remember who published it. He didn't self-publish it. I mean, he owns the rights to it, but he had a publisher, and each letter of the alphabet he created a different generic superhero for.
Oh, cool.
And it was cool because it was basically a 26-page book, maybe a little more if there were like a 2-page spread. But it would be I'm making this up, A is for Airman. And then he would just design this cool looking superhero.
Wow, I gotta look that up.
And then he would describe what the hero's powers were and stuff, and of course the letter A was real big because it's the first, then you turn the page, B is for Bubble Boy or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
and it was great. It was hardcover. It
Oh, I
eventually
didn't know
came out
that.
in soft cover. I got the hardcover version. I was like, that is that it I saw it and I was like, oh my God, why didn't I think of that? That is so cool.
Yeah, that is a cool
So
idea. You
yeah.
remember Spidey Stories, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Funny. I had every one of them, and that somebody stole a box of comics. And
Oh,
why would you steal Spidey Super Stories? Out of all the
oh,
comics that I had, that's what you stole. I think they just took the
oh,
comics box without thinking of it. They didn't know what was in it. But geez, and those are hard to find.
I know.
Yeah, I'm trying to replace the one with the copter, the Thanos copter. They want like $100. I'm like, I
I
bought that
remember that one. Well,
before.
it's because it's Thanos. Now you
Yeah, I
should have
know.
tried to replace it 15 years ago. Then it
I
wouldn't have
know.
been worth anything.
You couldn't give them away 15 years ago. Now I guess whatever. And then the original Spider Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she had the Spider Woman costume, and then just like a pointy mask on. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, they did. They had some nice Romita covers. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, they did. The
Yeah,
insides, but the
yeah.
covers were great.
Inside was a lot of Bob Oscar work, and I forget who else, but and then the one story would be written by a Marvel guy, and then one story would be written by a children's television workshop guy, and it would be like the bad guy is the Tickler, or the
Right.
or the Mumbler or something silly like people
Right.
a superhero that people who aren't into comic books would make up.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, as
Oh
Zach
yeah.
says, dentist, a dentist office superhero.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
So,
No, that was good.
we've been talking for an hour, but I always want to ask what were your favorite comics growing up? Oh, Win Mortimer. Yes, yes. Thank you, Marcus.
That's what I thought. Win Mortimer.
Yeah,
Win was
I said
good
Bob
too.
Ross. He did the other stuff for DC. Yeah, Win
Yeah,
Mortimer.
Bob was great. Bob's
Yeah.
stuff was fantastic. Win stuff's good. Marcus will know. Did Win draw Night Nurse?
Oh,
Remember that comic? I
yeah.
got number one of
I got all
that
four of those.
actually.
Yeah.
I can't remember if he did or not. But growing up, Captain America was one. Green Lantern, X-Men, Nexus.
Oh, Nexus.
Geez, I'm trying Alpha Flight. I bought so much stuff as a kid growing up.
Did you always want
Punisher.
to be a comic book artist? Like, were you one of those kids that's
Oh
like
yeah.
this? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yep. Ever
was
since I could draw and discovered comics when I was like 12, I was like, this is it. I want to draw. I want to do this for a living. So
Yeah, I said that too, but I can't even draw a straight line.
no, I know, but all you need is a ruler.
Stealing
It's not
comics.
magic.
Yeah, Superman will be so disappointed. I just don't. I'd hate to think that my father threw away that box. So I'd rather think somebody stole it than my father.
There you go. That's right. Go with the stealing.
Yeah, I'd rather somebody
Throwing away is awful.
Yeah. Oh,
My
yeah,
parents never threw away stuff. So
yeah. My father, he went away into the Navy. He was in Korea, so that tells
right.
you his age. And when he came back, my grandparents moved to the suburbs. And he was like, he didn't even ask, but he just knew his box of comics was gone. And he was like, and I was into comics, and I was showing him. This was like the first time I bought the Overstreet Guide, and I was showing him, what comics did you think you? And everybody said they had Action Comics #1. Everybody said that they had it, but my father was just like, Uncle Johnny was he goes, Uncle Frank was Superman because he was the oldest, and he goes, and I was a detective because I was the second oldest. He goes, and then Uncle Johnny was what did he say, a magician. So I'm like, you really had it, because not too many people know that there was a detective story, there was a magician story, and there was a Superman story in Action. Right. I'm like, Dad. And then I'm showing him the price. He goes, get that book out of my face. I never want to see that book again.
I know. Well, I mean, I was going to say there are, probably millions of people like that, but probably not anymore because the book is so old now. But, back in the 80s and stuff, if you told people how much that book was worth that, were kids when it came out, they'd just be like, oh my God.
Yeah, the
So,
story I always tell was a comic book store opened up near me, and I remember riding my bike to the comic book store, and in the glass he had Amazing Fantasy 15, and then he had X-Men #1, and he had Fantastic Four #1, and there was $60 a piece.
oh,
And I remember going, "Who would ever spend $60 on a comic book?"
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
who would ever
I
spend
was
sixty
like that
dollars?
too.
Yeah, well, I just want to. Somebody would spend a little bit more than $60 on a comic book.
That
you
is
know,
nice.
so
See, I as much as I like that, if I could, if I could ever get a Green Lantern #1, that'd be cool. And not even Showcase. Like I know Showcase is his first appearance, but I'd rather have Green Lantern #1 than his Showcase first
is that your
appearance.
favorite character? Because I see you got a Green Lantern statue over your shoulder.
Yeah, I love Green Lantern.
That's
He's not. Is he my favorite? No, I think it's a toss up. At DC, he probably is. For Marvel, it's Captain America. But there's no like Captain America. I already have like the key issue, which is when he came out of Tales of Suspense into his own book with issue 100 or whatever. I think it was 100. So I own that. But yeah, a Green Lantern
Avengers 4.
#1. What's that?
Do you have Avengers 4?
Nah, I don't care enough. Like
Oh,
Avengers 4, it's not like his first appearance or anything. It is for the Avengers, but no, that one doesn't do it for me. If
have
you
I
pick
picked
up
up the
Fire
bill?
and
Yes,
Ice
I
Book,
have. I haven't read them yet. They're right over here on this stack. Just to show
that is a
everybody
good book. Yeah.
this is my unread pile right here.
Oh my God, I would go. My OCD would kill me. If I have 4 books on a stack that I have to read, I start freaking out. So
I'm on. Today's my last day of work for 2 weeks, and the guys at work like, "What are you gonna do for 2 weeks?" I'm like, "I'm gonna sit and read comic books, and I'm gonna write a couple of comic book scripts." And they look at
nice.
me in disgust. Like you got to fix your house or you got to go out hunting or something like that. I'm like, nope. I'm gonna
No,
sit
no.
in this chair and I'm gonna read that freaking stack of comics. I intend to make a sizable dent. That's my goal. Be a lazy slob.
No, that's cool.
Eat this bag of chips and touch that Justice League #1 because I'm. Let me. Yeah, I have box. Marcus is correct. I've been doing a series of my unread comics. I have about 18 long boxes of comics that I haven't read yet. I went through a phase of buying collections from people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I bought this one girl. She was 15 years old, and her mother was one of those hoarders. You walk into the house,
Mm-hmm.
and you just had to be. And she was just like, I didn't know this girl, but a coworker did, and she was like, "What's in this house?" They were goofing around, and they picked up a box, and she's like, "Oh my God, comic books!" She goes, "I'm 15 years old. I never knew that those comic books were there." So they called me, and I was like, I'm trying to have a poker face. I'm like, I'll
Exactly.
give you $1,000 for these comics. And the girl was like, money. Ching, 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 ching. So
Oh
I had
yeah.
to come back the next day she gave me like a 25-minute block, and I came at me and my little brother, and it was starting to rain. So we actually had garbage bags and we brought them. And here's the funny thing is I borrowed $15 from my father for gas because I just started a new job and I haven't been paid in 2 months. So I come home with these boxes of comics. My father's on the phone back then, holding the phones like this, old Italian guy.
Oh yeah.
And then he'd shout, "Hey, Frank!" He's on the phone with his brother. "Hey, Frank, my asshole son just borrowed $15 for gas and spent $1,000 on comic books." And my little brother took out Iron Man #1. He goes, "Dad, this comic's worth $1,000." He took out X-Men Hulk 181.
Oh
He's like, this comic's, and these were like a near mint. And then my father goes,
wow, that's
"My son
cool.
just bought a fortune in comic books."
That's right. That tune changed.
Yeah, instantly.
Yeah, dude. There are certain book like I'd love a Green Lantern one. I'd love a Hulk 181. I'd like an X-Men 94, a giant size one. X-Men #1. Down the road, I'll probably hopefully get one of them at least. I always, obviously when I go to shows, I see them on back walls. I just haven't pulled the trigger yet, but
Yeah. When I got my job, I started as an apprentice, and then I worked my way up to a journeyman electrician. And
sure.
when I got my first paycheck, I took my 2 brothers out for a steak dinner because they helped me get through the apprenticeship program. But my first tax return, I just told my wife, I said, "I don't care. I'm getting a Fantastic Four #1." And I went to
Oh,
a New York Comic Con, and the guy had one that I could afford. I bought that right, like I didn't even I haggled with them a little bit. And the guy was like, "Oh my god," and I just paid cash and I put it and I just went home. You know what I mean? Like I was afraid somebody was going to bump into me, and
Right,
like, oh my
right.
God, and I just looked. I didn't even read it for like a month. I just wanted to look at it. I have a Fantastic Four, and I remember showing people. People like, so, like you don't understand. You don't.
No.
So let me ask you this before we go: do you CGC your comics at all?
The ones I do, do you mean the crowdfund stuff I've done, or do you mean comics in general?
Like, yeah, like, are you for it? Are you against it? Do you buy stuff?
No, I'm fine with it. I don't have a lot. I have probably 10 or 11 CG seed books. My general rule of thumb is I need to have either a reprint of it or just a second copy of it so I can always read it, whether it's in a trade paperback or whatnot. So any CGC book, and like I said, I only have like 10 or 12 of them, but any that, I've got reprints or whatever of all of them. So,
yeah, I used to argue with people, then I realized I'm just being a jerk, but like, I'm like, I'm kind of they're not comic books anymore. They just play. You're supposed to open them, look at the ads, look at the letters. But having
no, I know. Well, like I said, that's why I would never.
Yeah,
that's why I don't think that's why I never would own one that I don't have that I can actually read.
Yeah,
and the ones that I do have CG seed, yeah, there's a couple that really are probably only worth as much as it costs to get it graded, but it was more personal to me. That's why. But the other ones I have are ones that are more for investment type because they'll just go up.
Yeah.
Like,
when I make my own comic, I'm definitely going to send a few out to get CGC.
Oh yeah. We sent some core drafts off the other day. We sent one of each cover, a set for me and a set for Dennis. So when we get them back, we'll see how. I mean, they should come back at least 9/8.
But your friend Dennis must love the fact that he helped create a comic book and people are enjoying it and reading it. And now, that must be so much fun.
Yeah, because he's a huge collector. So being able to go from collecting his whole life to actually writing one. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Is he a comic book? He's a comic book collector. You said yes.
Oh yeah, he's got way more than I do. He's got over 20,000 comics. So
yeah,
and he's got a ton of CG seed stuff. He has a ton of books. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll show you something. The picture, my famous. Geez, can I even find it now? But I took a picture of my comic book room. Where is it? I put it on my. Geez. Now I can't even find it after bragging about. Oh, here we go.
Well, I tell you what, if you want it, just when we're done, I'll give you Dennis's contact if you ever want to have him on.
Oh yeah, sure. I love talking to
he is one. You guys would fill a whole hour up easily with role playing games, and two, he has a yeah, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
He has a pretty impressive comic room as well.
Yeah.
So
message me. I would I love talk. I started this channel to talk to comic book fans. Most creators are comic book fans. So.
Oh yeah.
I would love to. Yeah. That would be great. Tell him.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Marcus even says it. I tried to get Marcus on, but he says he doesn't have a webcam. They're $14, Marcus. There's nothing stopping you with you.
Honestly, you can use your phone. I've used my cell phone before when I was just like in the house. So.
Well, this is my third year. My first 2 years, it was me on my phone, and then somebody said, "Buy a webcam." What do you? So, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. Everything is stumbling. But thanks a lot. I know everybody's going to be waiting for the Rob Liefeld, Billy Tucci that starts. Oh, I think it's starting in 2 minutes or so like that. So, all right. Anything you want to say? Anything you want to say? Let's put up your links one more time, Marcus, if you want to help me out.
Pop the link for Nice and Tight, the comic book pencils of Andy Smith. That's me. Go check out the campaign. Once it hits $6,000, it's only a few $100 away. It'll go from 60 pages to 64 pages. So you can get that, see some nice full pencils I did for other people to ink when I was working for the Big Two. And yeah, definitely check that out. Get it. It's a cool art book. And then Cordrath, the next chapter of Cordrath will be dropping in April on
Oh,
Indiegogo. So
that's soon. Cool. Oh wow, I
yeah.
didn't realize it was gonna be that fast. Excellent.
Oh yeah, I've got a couple covers already done for it. I actually have the parody ad already done for it, and I've got a couple new characters on my desk that I'm working on design wise. And yeah,
Are you gonna go back to First Man at all?
I want to eventually, but stick with Cordrath for a while.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I like them both, but yeah, I don't know something about. I just love the whole role playing connection of Cordrath. You know, it was
yeah, I'm having a lot of fun drawing it, so I'll
cool,
stick with
cool,
that
cool.
for a while.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I really
You
enjoyed it.
got it.
Come back. Tell Dennis I'll definitely talk. I did, you know,
Yeah, I'll let him know.
I love talking with comic book fans. It's gonna be fun. Thanks a lot, everybody,
Yeah.
and thanks for the chat. Thanks for all the new names. I'm sorry if I didn't respond to every comment. Sometimes I get caught up in the talk and I miss the comments. But thanks a lot. All right.
Thank you.
Bye bye, everybody.
Bye bye.